Hello everybody, and welcome to what will probably be the first part of a three-part series where we take a look at the new Precision Farming DLC released by Giant Software for Farming Simulator 19. Now, in the first part, we're basically going to have an introduction to precision farming, a broad overview of precision farming as it exists today, and we're also going to take a dive into the soil sampling aspect of precision farming. Now, precision farming isn't done as far as an add-on. The way Giants has described it, this is a multi-year project between John Deere Europe and EIT Food. And this is just going to be the first iteration of what will likely be multiple precision farming updates in the future. Now, let me preface the rest of the content in these how-to guides that I do not consider myself an expert in soil management or the precision farming mod itself. I have had some time to play with this, and I've had some time to go through the XML of the mod and the Lua scripts in the mod to try to extract some useful information, but this is a pretty big add-on, changes the gameplay a fair bit, so I'm sure there's going to be some things that I'm going to get wrong or just flat out miss. I hope these videos give you a greater level of understanding around what Precision Farming add-on is and how to make use of it in your game. So what's the first iteration of Precision Farming all about? Go to our escape menu. We're going to see that we have a whole new tab here in the upper area. We have the globe, and now we have a new satellite and then a square, obviously representing a parcel of land. Click on that. We are now in our Precision Farming menus. See that we have a representation of the PDA, and we have multiple views over here. We have soil types, pH, nitrogen, yield, and then back to soil types. So prior to precision farming, dirt was dirt in Farm Sim 19. You had fields, like 22. Then you had grass, like the area to the south of Area 22. Now you could make fields out of grass by simply plowing and using Create Fields. That's pretty much what you had. But with precision farming, we now bring in 4 different soil types. We have loamy sand, sandy loam, and silty clay. Now we're going to cover these soil types in more detail in a future video. Soil types are defined in a new soil map layer that is included with the map. Now, included with this mod are soil maps for all of the Giants maps that have been released in Farm Sim 19. I'm going to go ahead and put those up on the screen here as an overlay. So we have the soil map for Ravenport. We have the soil map for Felsburn. We have the soil map for Estancia Lapacho. And then we have the soil map for Erlengrot. And you can see that all of these different soil maps are laid out in different fashions. And you can see that scattered throughout the entire map, we have various types of soil. Now, if you're playing on a map that is not one of these 4 giant maps, you're still okay. First off, the map author has the capability of including a custom map, soil map if they wish, and there are directions in the mod in a documentation folder on how to do that. But if you're playing on a map that has not been updated with a soil map yet, you're not out of luck, because there is a generic soil map that will be used for any map that does not have a soil map already embedded in it. I'm going to go ahead and throw up a shot here of Sovnolska, and you can basically see its soil map overlaid with the fields. Now this is using the generic soil map, but you can see that you can indeed play this with this mod on maps that do not quite yet have a custom soil map. Now, I do expect quite a flood of map updates in the coming weeks as map authors get up to speed on what they need to do to include custom soil maps with their mods. So do expect to see a flurry of map updates showing up in the Giants Mod Hub and showing up on your favorite mod websites. So now that we know that there are various soil types in precision farming, what else is there to talk about? Take a look here at our precision farming menu again, and we'll go over here to pH levels. So gone are the days of just simply blindly applying lime after every 3 harvests, or just turning lime off if you want. If you do the precision farming mode, then lime is going to affect the pH levels of your soil. For the various soil types, there are ideal pH levels, and it's pretty easy to get to the ideal level on those. We're going to talk about those in a future video in a lot more detail. And in addition to pH, there are nitrogen levels to be concerned with. And nitrogen levels are basically fertilization. You have your organic fertilization, like your manure, slurry, and digestate. And then you have your chemical fertilization, like your solid fertilizer and your liquid fertilizer. So you'll see we don't know anything about our nitrogen levels, our pH levels, or our soil types on the map. So how do we get a general idea of what type of soils do we have here on the map? Go to our globe screen, kind of our general overview screen, and we go to our lands mode. We click on a plot of farmland that has a field defined on it. We're going to get some general field info. This is really handy. You can now see the size of the field, 1.52 hectares, and we can see a rough breakdown on the soil distribution. So this field has 11% or so loamy sand, 39% sandy loam, 47% loam, and about 1% silty clay. The expected yield potential of this field is actually 7% greater than a base level. So we actually have 107% yield potential based on the soil distribution of this field. Now let's take a look here at field 21, right next door. And we've got a little bit different breakdown. Okay, see we have less loam, more sandy loam, and we have now 12% loamy sand, 60% sandy loam, 26% loam, no clay, but we only have 102% yield potential. Take a look here at field 18. Field 18 is a completely different picture. Now we have 42% loamy sand, 51% sandy loam, and 5% loam, and our expected yield is now 90%. So we can expect 10% less out of this field than a different field, a different soil composition of 1.95 hectares. And to that point, if we look at field 20, it is 1.98 hectares, a little bit bigger, but has a completely different soil distribution, 10% loamy sand, 59% sandy loam, 28% loam, and it has a yield potential of 103%. So just buying this plot to the south is going to get us an additional 13% yield just based on field breakdown as far as soil types. Now, how do we get a picture on our PDA, as I showed earlier, of your soil breakdowns? Well, you need to use the Izara Scout. Got it right here. You can find it in the shop. Go to Tools and Miscellaneous. Right here, $17,000. All you need in order to use this is a vehicle with a 3-point connection. And in fact, the Precision Farming add-on comes with this John Deere Gator that happens to have a 3-point hitch attachment on the rear, as well as a GPS module there on the top. So you can use this to go around your fields and take a soil sample. Also get rid of the 3-point attachment if you don't want it. But we're going to use our Kloss tractor. We're going to pull up the little mini map. We're going to pull up the F1 menu and take a look at the lower left at the mini map when I unfold this. You see the mini map zooms in. We now have a circle around ourselves and it says soil types. So this is the range that the soil tester is going to give us. Drive out here in the field, trying to maximize our field coverage. We're going to hit B, take a soil sample. See some soil appear in one of the little cups. As the plunger basically extracts a little bit of soil. And now the mini map has changed in color. Going to move across the field and try to get as much coverage as possible. Three samples taken. Take a look here at our precision farming screen. Now see this red color indicating that we've taken a sample. Don't quite know soil breakout yet. Let me go ahead and finish taking samples across this entire field, and then we'll be back. So 9 samples in total, sorry, 8 samples in total to completely cover this field as best as possible. And we got a little bit of field 21. Now what we'll do is we will send these samples off for analysis. That here in a moment. Now, depending on the economic difficulty level that you are playing on, the cost to analyze your soil can be different. So if you play on the easy economic difficulty, take a look at those. Play on easy, the cost is 50 units of money. Get dollars, euros, pounds, whatever. 50 units of money per sample on easy, 100 units of money on normal, and 150 units of money on hard. So in order to take a sample or send your samples off, you hit Y. Before we do that, let's go here and take a look here. Whether there are no soil samples to analyze. Laboratory. The soil samples are now sent to the lab for analysis. You'll see the results soon. Laboratory is analyzing 8 soil samples. Cool. Now it doesn't take long at all for the lab to run the analysis. Expect to get the results back any moment now. And while we're waiting for that to happen, let's talk about some other stuff. So, there you go. $1,200 for the soil samples analyzed. We left our difficulty on hard, didn't we? We did. We left it on hard. I was expecting $800, but that's okay. So now if we take a look here at our precision farming screen, we see there are no soil samples to analyze, but look here. We now have a little bit of color on our PA or our soil types. See, we have a strip here of loamy sand. We have 2 strips on either side of that of sandy loam. And we have some loam right up here in the upper northwest of the field, and a big chunk down here in the kind of the southeast area of the field. Almost half the field is loam. Then we have just a little sliver here of silty clay. All right. Take a look here at our pH values. And pH, we have on here a chart between 4.5 and 8. Then we have a new column here, outdated data. A lot of our pH is somewhere in this range. 6.25 and 6.0 and a little bit of 5.75. They basically correspond with the different soil types. Take a look at our nitrogen. Your nitrogen hovers anywhere between 20 and 40 kilograms per hectare or as nitrogen levels. So what do we do with our pH? As I said earlier, we need to apply lime. Over here and walk into our field. And now we have some information in the field info box. Let me scroll up so you can maybe see that down there. Basically says we have bad pH, 6.125 out of an ideal level of 6.750 for loam, and 40 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen. Move this way across the field. Now we're in sandy loam. We have good pH, 6.25 of 6.5. Now we're at 6.125, still in sandy loam. pH went to okay. Now we're in loamy sand. Our pH is still okay, but now it's 5.625. The ideal level being 6. See, pH can vary across the field very significantly. Right here now we're back in sandy loam, 6.250. pH is good. And sandy loam, now our pH is okay, 0.125. We don't know if the nitrogen levels are okay, good, or bad, because nitrogen levels are based on your crop. More on that in a future video. But we bring our pH levels up with lime. We're going to go ahead and get a lime spreader, some lime in it, and right back. So we've got our load of lime, and first thing I want to do is pull up the F1 menu. You're going to see we now have a new indicator on the F1 menu when we have a lime spreader attached. It says pH value lime application. We have a chart between 4.5 and 8.25. Also, take a look down at the mini map. Again, as we approach the field, we're going to see this zoom in. And it's going to say pH. And now we have a dynamic overlay of our current pH levels on this field. We can do a couple different things here. We can have the pH application set to automatic. If it's set to automatic, then basically we can think about the computer in the tractor communicating to an electronic controller in the spreader. The computer in the tractor has been loaded with our soil sample, pH, and nitrogen data, and it is dynamically applying precise amount of lime we need on the field at any given point in the field to bring our pH to the optimal level for the soil type that we are basically driving over. Change that to a manual mode by hitting the comma key. And if we change it to a manual mode, then we have the option of increasing and decreasing our application rate with the K and M key. Now, for simplicity purposes, I'm going to do automatic mode. Go ahead and turn this thing on, and we'll get to applying lime. And if you look at the F1 menu, you're going to see that as we go across the field, the target rate noted by the checkered flag and the application rate changes, and then the red line is basically indicating the current pH value of that part of the field. So right here we can see that we are basically increasing the pH by 0.25, and we're doing that by applying 1.75 tons per hectare of lime. Now we're applying a little bit more, applying a little bit less. This is why it's important to cover as much of the field as you can when you are using the soil tester. You have a very accurate representation of the field, and then you can apply the correct amount of lime to the entirety of the field. Take a look at the PDA down there, mini map. Colors are changing as we are applying lime across the field, and we're not going to go into details about what is the optimal pH levels of each particular soil type in this video. We will be doing a much deeper dive into pH in a future video. I'm going to go ahead and finish liming this field out, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at it. Thought I'd show you this since we're done applying the field. We've got a few missed little bits I want to fill in. Since we are on automatic mode, that's the mode that I probably expect most players to use. You can see we turned it on, turned it off. Okay, listen to the tractor. I'll turn it on. Hear it. It's not doing anything. That's because we've already applied lime to the optimal level. The application rate has been set to 0. As we drive over these little sections, you should see it basically kick in and apply lime just where it's needed. I'll apply it a little bit there. Get a little lime applied to this strip here. Guess it doesn't consider that skipped. That's fine. Kind of have proved our point on that one. Just wanted to demonstrate this fact that if you already have the ideal level and you're using automatic mode, you can run into a time where, well, the applicator stops applying product to the field. Let's get out of the tractor here and walk into the field here. And we're going to see we now have perfect pH. We have loam soil here, and we have a perfect value of 6.75 out of 6.75. Move down here to where we had that little bit of silty clay. You're going to see that value is going to remain perfect. pH level is going to change. Perfect value for silty clay is different than the perfect value for loam. We have silty clay. 7.0 is the perfect value for silty clay. Head over here to sandy loam. Perfect value is 6.5. And loamy sand, the perfect value is 6. Full point of pH difference is a fair bit between loamy sand and silty clay. Now that we have optimal pH on our fields, let's talk about getting optimal nitrogen levels. And once again, as we drive into the field here, we're going to see that zoom in to nitrogen. We have nitrogen slurry application now showing up. That are lined up on the field here. And if we again get down here, we're going to see we have a nitrogen level of 40. Look at the nitrogen overlay. Most of our field is 40, and some is 20. We're going to still keep automatic activation. And now we are applying nitrogen at either plus 60 kilograms or 40, and we saw 80 earlier. And you can see the dynamic mini map at the bottom is now changing. This is not necessarily the optimal pH. This is not necessarily the optimal nitrogen level, because the optimal nitrogen level is based upon crop that is planted. No crop yet planted in this field. What we're basically doing is we are basically just bringing base nitrogen level of the field up to a point where when we do then plant our crop, when we go to then fertilize the field to get it to an optimal nitrogen level, we're able to apply less of the more expensive fertilizers on the field because we kind of pre-treated soil with what would in theory be much cheaper and or free fertilizer. You have cows, pigs, or if you've basically made use of yay. Once again, we're going to finish applying slurry across this field, and I'll be guys back. Okay, here's another good example of the dynamic application. See, we have it on, applying at a rate of 0. And as we drive over this little strip, we're still effectively applying at a very, very small rate because we're only applying it to that center little strip. Now, if we take a look at our More on that in a little bit. Now, if we take a look at our nitrogen levels, see that we have raised them up quite a bit. We're at 100, 20, 80, and 60. Walk through here, do the same thing. 100 kilograms per hectare nitrogen, 60, 80, 100, 120. That all is based upon our starting pH values. Mark this and basically get our seeder at this point. And we're going to seed barley in this field. We're going to change our barley. Pull this thing up. And for this, I'm just going to hire a helper. This particular seeder does not have any fertilization feature. If we did have a seeder that did do fertilization, we would see the automatic nitrogen chart again. I'm going to go through here and basically apply seed to the field. And now that we have this seeded, you can see that we have a nitrogen value of okay. We have 100 out of 140. The ideal nitrogen level for barley growing in sandy loam soil is 140 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen. Right now we have 100, so that is in the okay value. Walk across this strip. See as we move into different areas. So now we are in sandy or loamy sand. Our nitrogen has now changed from okay to bad. Now we only have a value of 60 out of 120. Sandy loam, 40. Loamy sand is 120 is the optimal level. Now we have a bad score because we only have 60. Need to move across. We should move back into sandy loam, but now we still have bad because we only have 80. Now we have 100 in sandy loam. And now we are in loam, which requires 180. Now we are in loam, which requires 180. And we have 100, which is bad. Earlier, we had 100, and it was good. That was a different type of soil. Right here on the fringe. That's pretty on the play. So if we can move over here to where we haven't seeded, we just have a nitrogen value. We don't know if it's good, bad, or okay. Because nitrogen is based on the crop you're growing, based on the soil that it's growing in. Move across, you're going to see those values, lower corner, change from okay to possibly good, possibly bad, possibly perfect. Doubt perfect's going to show up quite yet. We're going to go ahead and, once again, finish seeding this field. And then we're going to come out here with our fertilize sprayer. And we're going to spray liquid fertilizer on here. We could put solid fertilizer on here if we wanted to. We're just going to choose to do liquid. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring our nitrogen values up to perfect, which is the equivalent of 2 stages of fertilization in the base farm sim, or 3 stages of fertilization in seasons. Only applied fertilizer twice in varying amounts across the field. Now that we have the field fully seeded in barley, ourselves a sprayer. Let's go ahead and move on up and take a look at applying our liquid fertilizer, then get our optimal nitrogen levels. Again, as we approach the field, Minimap is going to zoom on in, show us our nitrogen overlay. And if you remember, we have different perfect nitrogen values from 140. Move across the field. 120. And so forth. I'm going to leave this on automatic mode again. And we can see on the left that our target is ever moving and the amount that we are applying is changing. Now we're increasing our nitrogen by 40, increasing it by 60 kilograms. And we're basically applying 170 liters per hectare. 170 liters per hectare at this point. And if we look on just our first pass, you're going to see now we have perfect nitrogen, perfect pH levels, 140 out of 140 for our nitrogen. As we move across the field, we have 120 out of 120 for loamy sand for our nitrogen levels. Back into sandy loam at 140 out of 140. Now we're into loam, which is 180 out of 180. Now successfully raised our pH and our nitrogen both to perfect levels across multiple soil types, applying a varying amount of both lime and liquid fertilizer and slurry to the field. We're going to go ahead and obviously finish spraying this field. Our helper. That'll continue. And let's talk about a couple more aspects of precision farming. And one aspect that probably isn't going to get a lot of discussion is the statistics we can get. So if we click on our field here in the precision farming tab, we now have an economic analysis table that's going to pop up. And we see field 22, 1.52 hectares. Soil samples, we took 8 soil samples. I left this at hard mode. It cost us $1,200 to do that. We applied lime, 4,844 liters of lime. Cost us approximately $1,000. Now, I'm not sure why this is green. 15%. Unless, basically, that is going to improve our yield. So it was money well spent. Maybe. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'm not a perfect expert on this at this point. We haven't applied any mineral fertilizer to this. We're applying liquid fertilizer at the moment, and as we apply it, those costs are obviously going up. We didn't apply any manure. We did apply slurry, 28,000, almost 29,000 liters of slurry. Applied 761 liters of seed, cost of $685. We've used so far 6.8 liters of fuel, 0.9 liters of fuel now, for a cost of $8 to do all the field work. Basically spent $193, $194 worth in vehicle maintenance on this particular field. We've spent to date $760 in a AI hired helper on this field. And yield is 0. We don't have a yield yet. Total costs so far in climbing are $4,100. Total earnings, 0 at this point. So we are in the hole, $4,130 so far on this field. So that is a pretty cool thing. And we're going to stick through this. Once we're done fertilizing, we're going to fast forward, have a product ready to harvest. We're going to apply a herbicide to this so that our weeds are gone. And then we'll basically see what our estimated yield is. Then we're going to see basically what our estimated earnings are going to be. Before we do that, though, there's one more aspect to precision farming that we haven't talked about yet, and that is the RTK Base Station. We have two options. We have a building and we have a shed. $17,500 or $39,500. $10 a day cost or $25 a day cost. This one is much smaller in size, and we can put this wherever we want. I'm going to put it over here in the corner, kind of out of the way. This can be anywhere on the map. It doesn't have to be right next to your field. If we wanted to, we could put this over at the main farm. Shed is quite a bit bigger, but it does give us a functional shed. So we could put things in this shed if we wanted to, or vehicles, implements, whatever, in the shed. For this purpose, I'm just going to put down this little building. So, and what this is supposed to do. This station provides your vehicles with a better GPS signal. This helps your AI helpers to drive more precise and do their work faster. We're going to put that to the test. Because earlier, I harvested this field with an AI helper with the harvester that's over there, and it took 20-some minutes. I have the exact time because I recorded all of the things for the entire harvest. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to harvest the exact same field with that harvester and that header after I maintain it, so perfect. We're going to see if he harvests this field any faster. I don't think he will. I've tested this on a few other maps, trying to get the AI helper to do a few other things, and they seem to take the exact same amount of time to do things. So I'm not really sure. We're going to test it. And now take a look down there at our nitrogen map. Turned it on. We're going to see if I can apply a little bit section. Yep. Off. And now we have perfect nitrogen across everything. Including over here this little strip of silty clay. Take a look off of this. Now see our nitrogen levels. 80, 40, and 120. pH levels in are 7, 0.75, 6.5, and 6.0, which are all optimal for that particular soil type. All we have to do now at this point is, well, wait till harvest. With respect to precision farming, of course, with respect to maintaining our field, now it's time to wait for our growth, time to wait for weeds, and do a little herbicide. We're going to do that off camera, and I'll bring you back. We have a field ready to harvest. Welcome back, and our barley is now ready to harvest. Move in here. Remember, this was set to perfect. Now that our barley is ready to harvest, we just have a general nitrogen level. Does not tell us if it's perfect, good, okay, or anything. Have completely repaired the harvester. It is all staged and ready to go. Take a look here at our precision farming economic analysis. Interesting enough, there is no area here talking about herbicide. To be an omission, because I would have thought for sure there should be an entry here for herbicide. That's clearly a cost that we have incurred on this field, but it is not counting for that at all. Now, go over here to yield. Talk about this. We haven't talked about our yield filter yet, our yield tab. I harvested this field before we ran any soil tests, and basically I got a yield of 65%. Pretty abysmal. If you add precision farming to an existing save that has crop in the ground ready to harvest, you can expect 65% yield out of that field. If you have crop that is growing, you still have an opportunity to give it proper nitrogen levels and proper pH values, bring up your yield. But to be safe, what I strongly suggest is basically to add precision farming to your save when there are no crops ready to harvest. Best thing to do would be, if you're playing with seasons, to add it when there are no crops planted. Add it post-harvest in autumn or winter. Then you can spend all of winter doing your soil samples, getting your pH up, adding your first step of nitrogen, and basically getting ready to feed. So I'm going to put on the screen right now the economic analysis that I had of this field when I first loaded in before taking the soil samples. It will show you what our yield was. And I'm also going to put up the time right now that it took to harvest this field without the RTK building. Okay? And then we're going to basically time it here with the RTK building. We're going to keep tabs on our yield, and we're going to see how things pan out. You'll see as we dive into the field, our yield indicator shows up in the mini-map, and we are now getting a much better yield as we go across the screen, or as we go across the field. Go in here and take a look. So what was 65% is now 125%, 100%. Few values that are a little bit lower than that, kind of outliers. Overall, looking at 100 or more percent yield out of our field, we're going to see that those are probably nitrogen levels. pH levels have dropped a little bit. Those yields basically correspond with our soil types. Right here where we have that lower drop at 80%. Okay, keep a tab on where that is. Right here. Tab over here, you're going to see that pretty much corresponds with our loamy sand. So as we harvest across this field, we should see a swath of about 80% here. Spoiler alert, that's because loamy sand basically has a maximum yield potential of 80%. Loam has a maximum yield potential of 125%, and sandy loam has a maximum yield potential of 100%. Spoiler alert on that. Of course, we're going to cover that in much, much more detail in subsequent videos. Now we can see our yield is going up here. Our predicted estimated earnings. And you can see now that our total debt on the field is basically falling as we harvest more crop. So I'll bring you back when harvest is done. And I'll tell you how long it took. All right, so we are back, and our helper is just about, let's pretend we're the helper. And we are just about done. It is 21 minutes and 8 seconds. The hired helper on the first harvest of this field without the RTK building did it in 22 minutes and 38 seconds. I would say that speed difference is, well, pretty negligible. And in fact, he was able to harvest the field non-stop without any issue. This guy, I had to intervene 3 times. He wanted to stop harvesting before it was done. So, yeah. I'm not really sure what that RTK building is really supposed to do, unless it just buffs the overall fuel usage. So let's take a look at our economic analysis. And you can see we have a yield of 33,896 liters of barley off our 1.52 hectare field. Now, first harvest, we had 19,967 liters. We had a better price, though, earning a bit more money. But all in all, after factoring in all of our costs and our potential income, we're up $10,864 in total. And we've got one trailer over there full, and then this trailer with nearly 13,000 liters of product in it. We're going to take a look here at some of our info screens. This parked over here. Folks might be asking, where does it pull this revenue amount from, this total earnings? Well, it's based on an estimated selling price. So barley right now is selling at $4.70, $3.06, and $3.35. Basically, it is taking one of these prices and or the base price of barley for applying any sort of bonuses or discounts to the variable pricing. Look here at our soil types. Remember, we've got loamy sand, which is our worst performing soil, and loam, which is our best performing soil. Look at our yield. Loam is our best performing soil. And right here, don't know how well it's coming through in the stream recording, but let's do this. Filter out the 100, and that's going to leave the 80% there, right? So now let's look. That matches right there with loamy sand. Part that is grayed out now is our 100%. That matches with the sandy loam. 125 is matching with loam. And then we have a few little fringes here on the edges. But that is basically following maximum yield per soil type. Guys, that is pretty much it that is precision farming in a nutshell. Can't really think of anything else to talk about on precision farming aspect. You can see, though, let's take a look here at our nitrogen and our pH. Our pH has dropped. We're going to talk about this in a lot more detail in the second and third videos. This video is an introduction, and really, you can take everything that is in this video and kind of run with it and basically do precision farming and be perfectly happy. Or if you want a lot more detail about the nitties and the gritties, come back for part 2 and 3. We're really going to break down pH and the nitrogen aspects, pull up some charts, talk about kind of optimal levels of all of the various things like the pH, all the various soil types, and on nitrogen, all of the in-game crops and basically what types of nitrogen they want, what type of nitrogen consume. But you can see now post-harvest we are left with a field that has approximately 60 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen in it. So wheat growing pulled a fair bit of nitrogen out of the soil. You can see that our pH is all good still. We could probably go through, I mean, if we really wanted to, probably go through here with a lime spreader between harvests and just pick that pH, get it to optimal again. But really, we don't need to worry too much about it because we're still in the good value. And we're going to talk about how much pH drops per harvest, per soil type in the next video. If you like this video, please go ahead and click that like button. Share it with all your friends and family who might be playing Farm Sim 19 and might be interested in precision farming add-on. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of this video? What did you think of precision farming? What did I miss? What did I get wrong? And what did I get right? And until next time, happy farming. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell.